everyone. If you have not gotten one of these handouts, let me know and I will bring you one, and we will get this bad boy or Greg will bring you one. We'll get this bad boy going, and then we'll get on our way. How about that? Does everyone have one? Perfect. Welcome to our spring 2022 family reunion. I am your host, your MC of the day, Banning. I'm going to talk to you about a few of our dates and details, and I apologize if you've been to these in the past. We tried to do something fun and interactive because that's a big part of what these should be about, but with the surge in Omicron and everyone, I feel like, whoa, look at that. With the surge and everyone getting sick, we just thought it'd be best to keep it short and simple. So hopefully the one in the summer, in May or June, will be a little more engaging. But this handout, every announcement we make is really exciting, and there are some really great ones. But before we talk about that, I just want to say I'm so excited about the sermon series today, and just the whole season that we're about to move into in the spring, coming out of winter. Our one day of rain that we had, you see a lot of growth. I love seeing the way, even in our own field, like the weeds grow, and we don't love that, but there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of green and a lot of life that starts to take place. It feels like for our church, that's how we can see ourselves as well. It's almost like the whole world is coming out of a really dark time, and as we come out of it, this opportunity to grow and to extend and to reach is really exciting. And so the things we have planned are great. And not only do I feel like they are great, but there's been a lot of stuff behind the scenes at SonRise that have been going on, like continuing to do things like this, sitting down and looking at our calendar and planning out what we have coming up, making sure we give our volunteers and others a chance to hear and know what we have coming up so we can plan better. So as we've continued those efforts, I hope that you're reaping the benefits of that. That being said, we have a couple years ago, wow, it's crazy how time is going. We put together a ministry principle list, and it is sort of the backbone of all of our ministries. If you do not have a copy, I have some extras here you can come grab. There's like a bajillion on there, but they're all really great. And would like to highlight the ministry principle of the day today. Hospitality in everything. Hospitality is our invitation into kingdom community, and every ministry should always, at their very core, be welcoming and hospitable. Every occasion is an opportunity to be welcomed into the kingdom together, and all ministries and their participants must be welcoming at all times and as often as possible. I loved what Jerome said today. If it was talking about how the kingdom mentality goes. You know, like the church mentality asks to come, but the kingdom mentality goes. And that's really the heart of when we talk about being hospitable, that's what that is. And what that looks like in practice, it doesn't matter if you are on a team that is cleaning up trash, or if you are on a team that is literally focused on reaching out to people. Whatever we do at all times, we can be reaching out to those that we work with. And I think a great example of this would be, we have a lot of ministries that do this really well, but yesterday working with the deacons, seeing them do what they do with the families they do it with. I mean, putting on memorial services after memorial service. I mean, you're working with people that are at their very, very worst in the midst of grief and sadness, and just the way that they come alongside those families and without asking for anything. There's no price tag on our memorial services, and I think it is beautiful what they do. And the way the families feel cared for and comforted and held, to me, is a prime example of how to do everything, every little thing, with the hospitable heart of Christ. So with that being said, let's get into the important dates, and then if there's any questions about anything at all, I'll field those after we get through these dates. Big one for us is, like we announced today, life groups kick off the second week of February. We just started signups today, and of course, Bill and Judy Saunders' sign-up sheet is like massive compared to the rest of us. That's fine. I'm not bitter about it. I'm not jealous about it. It is what it is. No big deal. So the goal for this year with life groups is we have two goals that we want to really focus on. The first one is last life group season, we started sending out leadership guides for our leaders, resource guides. So every single week, every life group leader got a breakdown of the sermon. It included key points and resources to help them create the discussions among their groups and the questions. And we started doing that last season. It was really effective. We got really good feedback from our leaders about how helpful that was, and we're going to continue doing that this season as well. Mainly because we want to make our leadership program with life groups something that is attainable. Typically in the past, the way we approach doing life groups is we look for that courageous person or couple that says, I think I'd like to lead a life group. And then they're signed up for the next 30 years of their life. And then 30 years later, we say, hey, are they still meeting? And we're not totally sure. But we're trying to do a much better job of changing that culture so that if there are people that want to lead for, say, one series, or if they've never led before, that can be a really intimidating thing. We're working to create a system and a program for people so it is much more approachable to be a leader, which is really a facilitator of discussion and a facilitator of community. And like Corey and Nicole said today, we've noticed already that even in our first season of doing a life group, that people are much more willing to come to a life group than they are to come into the walls of a sanctuary, which is sad, but also we have to be aware of that and just know that maybe that neighbor that you have or that person in your life that you've been kind of like hoping would open up a little bit, that they would be much more responsive to going with you to a life group or coming into a life group that you start. So we're leaning into that, and continuing to pour into our leadership team is important, but also adding a new leadership group. So our goal this year is one. Between this season and next season, or the next two seasons, summer and then fall, we would like to add one new life group. So if you're in this room and you're thinking, looking at you, okay? We're hoping to add one new group because we want to continue to build on what it is our life groups are doing. I'll take questions about that now, actually. Let's just stop and go between each one. Are there any questions about life groups or this upcoming season? That's the quietest I've ever heard this place. We have 2 series coming up in this season. So our season extends from the second week of February till Easter, and we have 2 series in that. So that's some specifics for you. And I already can say for myself, I'm very excited about this first season. Oh, my wife. Good question, wife. Time commitment if you wanted to be a life group leader. So it's different for everyone. Yeah, some people, they want to just commit to doing it for the rest of existence. But one of our ministry principles is actually to always have an exit strategy, because that can create a lot of burnout for volunteers at churches. And I know some of you are probably sitting here thinking, I know what that feels like. So it's important to know if you want to just do a season, or maybe you're thinking, I just want to try it, or I want to commit to 8 weeks. You just have to make sure you vocalize that at the beginning of the whole situation as we begin talking about starting a life group together and helping that person do that. Because even if you want to just do 8 weeks and do one season, and I just want to commit to doing the spring, that's great. And then we can maybe try to help find people within the group that you're meeting with that would share the load. Because I've seen that happen before too. Sometimes you'll have a group of like 8 people, and they'll just rotate different season to different season. The one will be at one person's house, one will be at the other. And you do not have to be a theology major to lead a life group. Like it is, like in the resource guide we send out, there is all the information that you could possibly need to give you some background to the questions. All of the questions are laid out for you. And we emphasize that, the context or the content is important, but so are the relationships. So you want to make sure, like being a life group leader is not just let's all come together, sit down and like work through these questions, but also how are we doing? Checking in with each other, making sure that we're, like in our life group, I think we spend half the time, we do this thing called snack roulette. So at the beginning of the season, we pick there's whatever the weeks are, there's different themes for the food that week. And my group, luckily, is really good at, especially Beth, she's incredible at bringing extravagant food. And so one week, I think what was like one of our themes was like green. It was just green, whatever green that you can eat, bring it. And people bring stuff, and so we're spending the first half of our life group just chatting and hanging out and snacking together, catching up, and then we get into the content and make it as far as we can through the questions. So you can do it as short as one season, and if it goes well, you can extend it further. You can take a season off and come back around later. I mean, there's a lot of options for people. Does that answer your question? Yes. Any other questions? Yes, Melinda. That's a great question. Are life groups more intergenerational or stages of life? We, as far as when we do the signups, we kind of leave it open to being intergenerational. I know our group is intergenerational, and based on the signups today, it's about to get even more intergenerational. I think as a core value of this church, being intergenerational is something we always want to be open to. And I know, I'll speak for my group. We have the majority of the people in my group are millennials. And so you have folks that are in sort of that, we're, having children, so we provide childcare. They're in the middle of work, they're in the middle, and we have some teachers in our group, and with COVID and stuff, like there's all this crazy stuff happening for teachers. And then we have some folks from a different generation like Beth who come in and just have this perspective, and it's almost like the perspective and the energy create this really cool fusion and in a really beautiful relationship. And I think the fears of will all folks get along, in life groups? Like, will the older generation or the younger generation find a way? And in my experience, they always have. So I think for some people, if you go to a life group and try it out and you find out it's not for you because maybe you're just not around folks that understand or know where you're coming from, like, that's totally fine. There's no harm felt with that. There's other groups that tend to have people that are more focused on that stage of life, and that's totally fine. But if there are people that want to really get to know, like after the Sunday school group that meets after service, I mean, I'm in there with folks that are at different stages of life than I am, and it's been awesome. Like, I have loved every second of it. So I think for us, the goal is to be open to being intergenerational and move towards that, but also there's no harm and no foul in a group trying to be specific for maybe a demographic, like an age generation, or even like Greg's group is a men's group, so like having a men's group or a women's group or something like that. So intergenerational is cool, but also if you prefer to be around folks that are at the same stage of life, I think that's totally fine too. But it just depends on being like trying, like going and checking it out and seeing how that goes. Does that answer your question? So it's like both and, I guess. Yeah. Great questions. Any other good ones? Or bad ones? I don't know. Good. Well, if you haven't signed up for a group, hopefully this guilted you into doing that. Please sign up on your way out today. And if you don't, I will find you next week and make you sign up next week. I'm just kidding. So the next announcement we have Shine, which is our children's and youth program that we started we started last season. We started that after the summer and got through our first season. We are kicking that back off again this week on Thursday. It is a very unique thing that we have started doing. I don't know of a church that does a midweek children's program. I'm sure there are some out there, but I don't know of any that do it, and we are doing it, and it is crazy and fun. So what that looks like is all the children and teens come together, and we do a game together, do a snack together, and then they all go to their different groups. And Beth Ann this season is working through the Gospel Project. The needs of children's ministry are very different from the needs of teens and student ministry. And this season, Beth Ann will be using the Gospel Project to walk with her children, and Haley and myself will be using our confirmation curriculum from our church, which is really exciting because at the end of that, hopefully we will have some students that will be confirmed and then welcomed into the church body, and we'll have a Sunday in the summer where we can honor them. In addition to the Gospel Project, Beth Ann's also going to be doing our communion course with the children. So the goal is for us, when we complete this season of Shine Midweek, that the teens would be finishing up our confirmation curriculum, the children would be doing Gospel Project, and then the communion class, and then we would finish it up at the same time, and then we would have a Sunday where we can celebrate together here as a church and honor the students who have completed that work, because it is a lot of work. Some other things that we've added this year, we have added a sort of, I don't want to say like incentive program or rewards program, but we've added a point system to the whole thing, and it's going to be really fun. So the kids are going to be doing a lot of things. We're emphasizing trying to equip families to create further discussion based on the material we have. So every week, teens and children alike will have take-home reports that they can go and do with their families. Because one of the things that we've been trying to change, and this was probably more so the problem of the youth ministry, was that families have their children for how many hours a week, you know? I mean, I'm sure you count. If you have children, you know exactly how long you have them. And churches have them for like an hour. I mean, if that even. So instead of taking on the role of being the new parents of children, we have to change our focus and be a ministry that supports and equips our families that are here and the parents that are here. So that's a big emphasis change for us. So we have a lot of things that we're working on in terms of equipping and giving parents the tools that they can use if they'd like to create deeper discussions with their children about, as Beth Ann likes to call it, discipling them from a very young age, starting very early and getting them comfortable talking about their faith and their walk. So that will start on the 27th, and that will run beyond Easter, when the school year ends. I think the week before promotion, which would be May 26th. And I think whatever weeks the kids have off, President's Day and Easter, like spring break, we will not have program on those days. I think there's only like 2 or 3 days that there's a holiday. But that's very, 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 very exciting. And years ago, I don't know if any of you remember, we did a Bible drive for students in our youth ministry that didn't have Bibles, and the church went into the narthex and signed them all. It was like one of my favorite intergenerational things we did. We're going to do that again for the students that actually get confirmed this year. So when we have students that complete their confirmation or communion class, we'll invite the church in to sign those Bibles, present them to them in the service, and I think it'll be a really, really beautiful time for our whole church body. Any questions about Shine? I know we have a meeting afterwards with the Shine leadership team, but are there any questions from anybody else about details and specifics? Beth? Yeah, well, we've been doing Shine Midweek we did it on Thursdays last year, and we're doing it on Thursdays again. There's never a perfect day, I've learned, for anything. But Thursdays seem to work out okay, and it meets at 4. We start at 4 because that's easier for the children and their families, and it goes till 5:30. So that's on Thursdays. And it's all ages, so if you have anyone that knows, if you know any parents that are just looking for something to get their kids involved in, we do it on the same day and time because it's easier for families that have children or teens at different levels. They just have to drop them off one time instead of a few different days a week. Totally new for us, but it's going pretty well. Any questions? Okay. Moving down, Valentine's Day Kids Night Out. Beth Ann, she's so good. She has such good ideas. February 10th, it's a couple days before actual Valentine's Day. Beth Ann is going to she's going to plan a night for the children so that if we have any parents or you know any parents that are looking for a break to go maybe out to dinner or something like that, that will be happening on February 10th. Details to come about specific times and so forth. We started doing Kids Night Out and Parents Night Out, which really turned into Kids Night Out and Church Night Out because a lot of people wanted to go and hang out that didn't have children, and that was totally fine. We're not doing that this time because it's Valentine's Day, and I don't want to be a part of whatever y'all are going to be doing. So we're encouraging people to go out on their own, and if you're looking for a little date idea, let me give you one. This Friday, Brittany and I went to the Mission Theater for they play old movies there. Did we know this? At the Mission Theater in town in Fallbrook, they play old movies. And it was $3 per ticket. And they played McClintock, which was great. Not the most PC movie ever, but it was fun. So if you're looking for a little date night idea in Fallbrook, they play a bunch. I think Casablanca's coming up too, so you can go check that out. Any questions about the Kids Night Out, the Valentine's Day Kids Night Out? Cool. In terms of the church calendar, Lent begins, I think it's March 2nd, Jerome. That's when a little Google search revealed it. With Lent on March 2nd, We have Holy Week, which begins on April 10th, and then Easter on April 17th. Always a lot of fun. And then on the back, big old honkin' announcement here, folks. I don't want to steal the thunder too much of the group that's putting this on, but there is a whole plan in place to remodel our CAC. And it's very, very exciting. And I love the whole theme of like, we're going to raise that barn, you know what I mean? And so Beth Deutsch and her team have put together a barn raiser, and it is going to be a hoot. And it's going to be on March 25th. All the detailers are there. We're going to have chili. There's going to be, they're going to roll out the CAC remodel plan. I've got to take a peek at it. It is awesome. Like that facility has needed that for a long time. And the people that have put together the vision for that, it's really, I mean, super exciting for our church. And yeah, so there's a team that's going to be working on creating events in different ways that as a church we can support them and help raise the funds to do this. Anything can be done if you put your mind to it. I mean, for example, I go back to when we first realized that this church had to pay whatever exorbitant amount of money to buy the church again. And last year we completed that process, which is super exciting. So there's a lot, where there's vision, there can be prosperity. And I think that Beth and their crew have a great plan for making this happen. So we all would love the whole church to come out in support of that and find out how they can support that whole process. And at least I know that y'all will be super excited when you see the whole digital plan layout. I think Corey did that. It's a beautiful little proposal of what the CAC goal is going to be, and we're going to start working towards that. So that's, in terms of announcements and upcoming important dates, that's what I got. Are there any questions I can field about anything, and I'll do my best to answer them? Wow, pretty good. Well, that's it. I don't want to keep everyone. I just wanted to make sure we went over those dates, and the next family reunion will be at the beginning of summer, so in May or June. We'll have the details for that down the road, and hopefully the pressure of COVID will be a little lighter and we can do something a little more fun and interactive. But thank you so much for coming and bearing with me. Go in peace, God bless, and we will see you next Sunday, wherever, at any of these dates. Thank you, guys.